The warning. In the year 3247, humanity had spread its reach across the stars, colonizing planets that once existed only in distant dreams. Starships glided through the void like silent hunters, and human civilization had grown bold, confident, and some would say reckless. Among those daring explorers was Captain Kalen Vera, a seasoned officer in the United Earth Fleet, known for his unwavering courage and sharp intuition. He commanded the starship Etherian, a sleek vessel equipped for both exploration and combat, and his crew was handpicked for skill, loyalty, and nerve. Their mission was simple, or at least it appeared so: chart the unclaimed regions near the Orion Rift, a mysterious stretch of space where gravity waves twisted unpredictably, and strange signals had been detected for decades. Kalen had seen his share of anomalies, rogue comets, dying stars, and drifting derelict ships, but nothing prepared him for the message that blinked across the Etherian's communication array one cold, silent morning. The transmission began as a jumble of fragmented code, incomprehensible at first glance. It pulsed in patterns that seemed almost alive. Scientists aboard the Etherian worked feverishly to decode it. Dr. Ilara Mir, the ship's xenolinguist, leaned over her console, eyes wide with awe and a touch of fear. "It's not just random interference," she said, her voice tight. "There's intelligence behind this, something ancient, something aware." The crew gathered in the bridge's command center, the air tense with curiosity and unease. Kalen studied the readouts carefully. The symbols on the screen seemed to shift, forming patterns that danced like living shadows. Then, amidst the chaos of data, a single phrase began to crystallize in translation. "They're coming. They hunger. Prepare or perish." A cold silence filled the room. It was a warning, clear and unambiguous, yet terrifyingly vague. Who were they? And what did it mean to humanity? Kalen felt a familiar chill run down his spine, the kind that seasoned captains learned to recognize as the instinct of danger. He knew the galaxy held many mysteries, but few were capable of striking fear so deeply. He turned to his crew. "Double shields. Maintain full alert," he ordered, his voice steady but firm. "We don't know who they are or what they want, but whatever it is, it's serious." Ilara continued analyzing the transmission, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's almost as if they can sense us," she muttered. "The message doesn't seem intended for a single ship. It feels targeted, deliberate, like we're being watched." Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors detected unusual activity near the Orion Rift. Massive energy fluctuations rippled through space, creating pockets of instability that disrupted even the Etherian's advanced instruments. Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Bring us closer. I want a visual," he said, his tone calm but authoritative. The crew obeyed, though a sense of unease settled over them like a shadow. When the first images arrived on the main screen, the bridge fell silent once more. At first, it appeared to be a cluster of asteroids bathed in the rift's eerie glow. Then, subtly, the shapes moved, smoothly, deliberately, almost as if alive. Ilara's voice trembled as she analyzed the readings. "These aren't rocks, they're ships. But unlike anything humans have ever designed. Organic yet mechanical. They move with intent. They're intelligent." Kalen clenched his jaw. The warning had been no idle threat. Something was out there, something powerful, calculating, and undoubtedly dangerous. He issued orders to prepare defensive systems, recalling that caution often determines survival in the void. Hours later, the first report came from Vanguard Station, a small research colony near the rift's edge. Entire communication arrays had gone dark. Automated messages from the station repeated a single word over and over before cutting off entirely. "Consumed." The meaning was horrifyingly clear. Humanity had encountered something that did not negotiate, did not reason, and did not forgive. The galaxy, vast as it was, had produced a predator unlike any the human race had ever faced. Kalen called an emergency meeting with his senior officers. Admiral Lyra Soren, a veteran of decades of interstellar conflict, joined via secure link. Her face, usually composed, betrayed a flicker of unease. "Captain Vera," she began, her tone measured, "whatever is out there, it's not just another alien species. We've never seen technology, or biology, like this. If the reports from Vanguard are accurate, we may be facing a threat capable of annihilating entire colonies in hours." Kalen nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Then we have to assume the worst. Full alert across human space. Mobilize reconnaissance fleets. We cannot let humanity be caught unprepared." The bridge was filled with a quiet determination. Fear was present, yes, but alongside it burned a defiant flame. Humanity had always faced insurmountable odds and survived. And now, staring into the abyss, Kalen vowed that this time would be no different. As night fell over the Orion Rift, the Etherian drifted among the stars, a lone sentinel in the growing darkness. Somewhere beyond the rift, the unknown presence stirred, watching, calculating. Humanity's explorers had stumbled upon the galaxy's deadliest secret, and the warning had made one thing clear: the coming storm would test the very limits of human courage, ingenuity, and survival. Kalen stared at the stars, his hand resting lightly on the console. "Whatever they are, we'll be ready," he whispered. But even as he spoke, the shadows of the rift shifted, and a pulse of energy raced across the void, a signal that no human technology had ever intercepted before. It was the first sign of an intelligence that hungered, that moved with purpose, that had marked humanity as prey. And in the quiet of space, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The warning had come. Humanity had heard it. And the countdown to war had already begun. The first encounter. The void of space is merciless, but for Captain Kalen Vera and the crew of the Etherian, it was also the stage where courage met destiny. After the chilling warning and the mysterious destruction of Vanguard Station, humanity's vigilance increased tenfold. Kalen's mission had shifted. Exploration was no longer the priority, survival was. Reports poured in from the outer colonies, entire mining operations on desolate asteroids, research facilities on frozen moons, even small civilian settlements, all gone. Not a single transmission survived beyond an automated distress signal. Humanity was facing an enemy that struck with surgical precision, leaving no evidence of mercy. It was during a routine scan near Vortex 9, a gravity-warped nebula on the edge of human-controlled space, that the Etherian first detected the source. Massive, irregular structures drifted among the nebula's swirling clouds. At first glance, they seemed like drifting asteroids, but their movement was impossible to dismiss. They maneuvered as if aware, avoiding gravitational distortions with precision that surpassed any known human technology. "Captain," said Lieutenant Torrin Sable, the ship's tactical officer, his voice tense, "we have visual on something. It's not like anything we've cataloged before. I repeat, not human, not any known alien species." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "On screen," he ordered. The bridge's main view flickered, then resolved into shapes that defied logic. Towering forms, their exoskeletons glinting with a strange bioluminescence, moved with terrifying grace. Their bodies were elongated, sinewy, and armored, yet they flowed like living metal. Each creature's eyes, or what passed for eyes, glowed with a cold intelligence that seemed to pierce through the ship's hull. "They're watching us," whispered Dr. Ilaramir, her hands hovering over the console. "Every movement we make is being studied. They're calculating, learning. And they're large, far larger than humans. This is no ordinary species." The sensors confirmed her fears. The beings, later identified by fragmented signals as the Zytherians, moved not in fleets but as coordinated organisms. Each ship-like structure was alive, part biological, part mechanical, a fusion of evolution and engineering that blurred the line between predator and war machine. Kalen felt a chill he had not experienced in decades of deep space missions. Humanity had encountered dangerous species before, but none had inspired the sense of inevitable doom that radiated from the Zytherians. Yet, as always, fear was tempered with resolve. "Helm, maintain distance but keep sensors locked," Kalen commanded. "Tactical shields on maximum. We do not provoke, but we are ready for anything." As the crew watched, the Zytherians made the first move. A pulse of energy rippled through the nebula, almost like a heartbeat, disrupting the Etherians' communications. The ship's lights flickered, and the hum of engines grew louder as automated systems compensated. It was a warning, clear and unmistakable. The Zytherians were aware of the humans and they were testing boundaries. Ilara worked frantically to interpret the signals. "It's a form of communication, but it's unlike anything we've seen. It's almost musical in its complexity. The pulses carry meaning, threats, calculations, intentions. I think they're trying to assess us to see if we're prey or potential competitors." Before the crew could respond, the Etherians' long-range scanners picked up movement on Vortex 9's surface. Entire cities, built by humanity's colonists, were being obliterated. Energy beams carved through buildings, vaporizing everything in their path. The Zytherians were efficient and merciless, sparing nothing. Kalen's jaw tightened. "Report casualties." Lieutenant Sable shook his head. "Impossible to tell from this distance. The structures, they're gone. Completely. No survivors detected. Admiral Lyra Soren, who had joined the fleet's command through a secure channel, voiced the concern that weighed on every mind. Kalen, this isn't reconnaissance. This is a declaration of war. They're not just exploring, they're eliminating. Humanity is on their radar and we're prey. The realization hit hard. Humanity had always considered itself the apex of intelligence and ingenuity in its corner of the galaxy. Yet here was a species that made humans appear naive and fragile. The Zytherians were a predator perfected by millions of years of evolution and war, and humans had just stepped into the wrong corner of the cosmos. Kalen knew that direct confrontation could be suicidal. We need data, he said, voice calm but firm. Observe, document, and retreat if necessary. Humanity survives because we are adaptable. Learn everything you can. Every movement, every pulse, every pattern. Over the next hours, the Etherian hovered at the edge of the nebula, its crew documenting the Zytherians' behavior. They discovered patterns in the attacks. Targets were destroyed not randomly, but in a sequence that suggested strategy and intelligence. The Zytherians were not mindless monsters. They were warriors, planners, and hunters. Despite the threat, a spark of hope emerged. The humans noticed subtle inconsistencies in the Zytherians' attacks. Their communication pulses occasionally faltered, and their formations showed small, exploitable gaps. These were tiny victories in the face of overwhelming power, but for Kalen and his crew, they were proof that humanity's ingenuity might still turn the tide. That night, Kalen walked the observation deck alone, staring out at the swirling chaos of the vortex. The stars shone cold and distant, indifferent to human fears and ambitions. And yet, he felt a flicker of determination, the same stubborn resolve that had carried humanity from Earth's oceans to the stars. We've faced impossible odds before, he whispered to himself, and we've always survived. We will survive this too. Meanwhile, somewhere deep within the Zytherian formations, a pulse of energy echoed through the void. It was a warning, and an acknowledgement. Humanity had been noticed. Humanity had been measured. And now, the galaxy had become a battlefield where only the clever, the brave, and the relentless could endure. The first encounter had ended, but the war had only begun. And humanity, for all its courage and brilliance, would need more than courage. They would need strategy, unity, and the unwavering belief that they could stand against the deadliest species the galaxy had ever known. In the silent expanse of space, the stars seemed to shimmer with anticipation. Humanity's fight for survival had begun, and the echoes of that first encounter would haunt the galaxy forever. Humanity strikes back. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had glimpsed a predator unlike any before, and the knowledge weighed heavily on every starship, every colony, and every officer in the United Earth Fleet. Reports from the outer systems painted a grim picture. Entire colonies vanished, fleets destroyed, and human outposts left in radioactive silence. The Zytherians, the deadliest species humanity had ever encountered, were no longer a distant threat. They were an immediate existential danger. Captain Kalen Vera stood on the bridge of the Etherian, the cold hum of the ship's engines vibrating through the deck. His crew worked in tense silence, analyzing data from the first encounter near Vortex 9. Patterns were emerging. The Zytherians struck with precision, but they were not infallible. Small gaps in their formations hinted at a strategy that could be exploited, but only if humans acted quickly. We've lost colonies, yes, Kalen said to his senior officers. But we are not beaten. Every attack we study is an opportunity. Humanity survives because we adapt, because we are relentless. We strike where they are vulnerable, and we strike with everything we have. General Rakshan Kale, leader of Earth's Tactical Command, had been summoned to coordinate the response. A grizzled veteran of countless interstellar conflicts, Rakshan had seen civilizations crumble under threats far less formidable than this. He did not mince words. Captain, Rakshan began, his voice as hard as the steel of his metals, the Zytherians have power, speed, and precision we cannot yet match. But they are predictable in one way: they underestimate humanity. They've never faced us united. That is our advantage. Kalen nodded. Then we strike. But with intelligence, not recklessness. Tactical teams will probe their fleets. Recon ships will map their positions. Every detail counts. Humanity survives because we are clever, adaptable, and courageous. The first strike mission was small but daring. A fleet of modified scout ships, led personally by Kalen, was dispatched to harass Zytherian patrols near the Orion Expanse, a region thick with nebulae that offered cover and strategic advantage. The humans knew they could not match the Zytherians in raw firepower, so they relied on cunning. Using cloaking technology, they maneuvered unseen, striking the enemy in calculated bursts. The first engagement was brutal. Zytherian vessels moved with unnatural speed, phasing through shields and striking with energy pulses that tore through human hulls. Several ships were lost within minutes, and cries of alarm echoed through the fleet's communication channels. Yet, despite the losses, humans learned. Every pulse, every maneuver, every attack was recorded, analyzed, and used to improve the next assault. Lieutenant Torrance Sable called out from the tactical console, eyes wide as readings flashed. "Captain, we found something, gaps in their formation. It's small, but if we coordinate, we can exploit it." Kalen leaned forward, heart pounding. "Show me." The data revealed the Zytherians' flaw. Their communication system, a series of bioluminescent pulses and subspace vibrations, required constant synchronization. If disrupted even briefly, their formations faltered, leaving individual units vulnerable. Humans could not destroy them outright, not yet, but they could disrupt, disorient, and buy time. With this knowledge, Kalen and Rakshan devised a bold plan. Using drones to emit interfering pulses, human strike teams could break the Zytherians' coordination, creating openings for targeted attacks. It was risky. If the plan failed, the fleet could be annihilated in minutes, but the alternative was worse. Humanity could not afford to wait. The first execution of the plan was tense beyond measure. The drones were deployed into the nebula's misty clouds, sending pulses that mimicked Zytherian communication. For a moment, the enemy faltered. Human ships darted through the gaps, striking vital systems with precision torpedoes and plasma beams. The effect was small but significant. Several Zytherian vessels were disabled, drifting lifelessly into the void. "Status?" Kalen asked, voice tight. Lieutenant Sable grinned, despite the tension. "We did it, Captain. They're retreating, for now. Damage minimal on our side. This is proof we can fight them." The victory was celebrated quietly, for the crew knew it was only the beginning. Humanity had won a skirmish, not a war. But in the cold expanse of space, even a small triumph mattered. The humans had proven they could survive, adapt, and strike back against the galaxy's deadliest species. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Lyra Soren coordinated the broader response. Research teams worked around the clock, studying Zytherian biology, weapon systems, and patterns of movement. Scientists like Dr. Ilara Mir raced to decode Zytherian signals, hoping to understand the enemy's thought process, its motivations, and most importantly, its weaknesses. Ilara had begun noticing strange patterns in Zytherian behavior. "They're intelligent," she told Lyra over secure communication, "but they're not invincible. They adapt slowly to unpredictable tactics. Human unpredictability, our courage, it disrupts them in ways they haven't encountered before." Lyra nodded, determination etched on her face. "Then we give them more of it. Humanity survives because we refuse to submit. We'll make them respect us." As the weeks passed, humanity's response became more coordinated and daring. Colonies were fortified, fleets deployed strategically, and reconnaissance missions continued despite the risk. Every encounter with the Zytherians taught a lesson. Their strength was immense, but their predictability could be exploited. Human ingenuity, bravery, and adaptability were proving to be formidable weapons in their own right. Kalen watched the stars from the Etherians' observation deck, reflecting on the first months of conflict. Humanity had been thrust into a war it did not ask for, against a species it barely understood. Yet, despite the losses, despite the terror, humans had struck back. They had proven that even against overwhelming odds, courage and intelligence could prevail. He turned to Ilara, who had joined him on the deck. "Do you think we can win this?" he asked quietly. Ilara's eyes gleamed with conviction. "We don't just survive, Kalen. Humanity fights back because we have to. And we fight harder, smarter, and braver than anyone else. That's what makes us human." A small, defiant smile crossed Kalen's face. The Zytherians had declared war, and the galaxy's deadliest species had underestimated the one thing humans possessed in abundance: relentless courage. And as the stars shimmered cold and distant around them, humanity's response echoed across space, not in fear but in unyielding resolve. The first battle had been won, and the war was only beginning. Secrets of the Zytherians. Humanity had learned to fight, but understanding the enemy was a battle of a different kind. Captain Kalen Vera and his crew of the Etherian had survived skirmishes, exploited weaknesses, and proved that humans could strike back. Yet the Zytherians remained an enigma, An intelligent, merciless species whose motives and history were shrouded in mystery. Victory would require more than courage. It would demand knowledge. Dr. Ilara Mir had spent countless hours analyzing the fragments of Zytherian communication captured during the fleet's reconnaissance missions. Patterns began to emerge, faint and fragile, but unmistakable. The Zytherians were not merely hunters. They were scholars of war, observers of civilizations, and survivors of conflicts that spanned millennia. Their intelligence was not just biological but cultural, encoded in rituals, hierarchies, and a strict, almost ritualistic approach to combat. "It's incredible," Ilara said one night in the ship's research bay, her holographic displays flickering with alien symbols and energy signatures. "They've waged war across countless systems, wiped out civilizations, and yet, they study everything. Every strategy, every weakness of their enemies. And now they see humans as another challenge, a species to test, to measure." Kalen stood beside her, watching as she manipulated the holographic images. "And do they see us as prey or competition?" he asked quietly. Ilara hesitated. "Both. They respect strength, Kalen. But they also recognize unpredictability. That's what makes humanity dangerous to them. We don't follow the patterns they expect." It was during an exploratory mission to Zytheria Prime, a planet believed to be uninhabited, that the Etherian crew uncovered the first tangible evidence of the Zytherians' past. The planet was a desolate world, its surface scarred by ancient conflicts. Vast ruins dotted the landscape, monuments of a civilization both alien and eerily familiar in their precision. Kalen, Ilara, and a small strike team descended to the planet's surface, the ground trembling beneath their boots. The ruins were massive, towering structures made from a black, crystalline material that pulsed faintly with energy. Intricate carvings depicted battles, ceremonies, and beings that resembled the Zytherians in form but more primitive in appearance. These are their ancestors," Ilara whispered, awe and fear mixing in her voice. "They've been at war for eons. Every species they encountered was a test. Every battle a lesson. And now, we're part of their history." Among the ruins, the team discovered a chamber filled with data cores, ancient repositories of knowledge still humming with power. Ilara carefully extracted the data and interfaced it with the Etherian systems. Images and recordings flickered to life. Battles fought with species now extinct, strategies honed over millennia, and the brutal code of Zytherian honor. Kalen watched in silence as images of destruction played across the display. "They're survivors," he said finally. "Every attack we've seen, every tactic, is honed from a species that has endured countless wars. They don't just fight to conquer, they fight to perfect themselves." Ilara nodded. "And that's why they see humanity as a threat. We're unpredictable, yes, but also resilient. We learn, adapt, and improvise in ways they cannot always anticipate. That makes us interesting to them. Dangerous." As the team explored further, they uncovered more unsettling truths. The Zytherians' home systems had been ravaged by internal wars. Their evolution had been shaped not by peaceful growth but by survival in the crucible of conflict. Every aspect of their biology, technology, and culture was designed for one purpose: dominance. "They're not evil in the way humans think of evil," Ilara explained. "They don't kill for malice. They kill because survival and perfection are inseparable for them. For them, war is life. And now we are part of that life." Kalen absorbed the weight of her words. Humanity had faced threats before, hostile alien species, rogue artificial intelligences, but never had they confronted a species so singularly devoted to survival and mastery. The Zytherians' very existence was a challenge to everything humans believed about intelligence, morality, and resilience. Back aboard the Etherian, Kalen convened a strategy meeting. Admiral Lyra Soren, General Rakshan Kale, and Ilara gathered around a holographic display showing the Zytherian ruins and data. "We have two choices," Kalen began. "Fight blindly and risk annihilation, or understand our enemy and strike with precision. The ruins on Zytheria Prime tell us who we're up against. They are methodical, disciplined, and deadly, but they are not infallible." Lyra leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Knowledge is our weapon now. If we can anticipate their moves, understand their strategies, we can survive. We can fight them not just with ships and weapons but with intellect. Humanity's advantage has always been its mind, and its courage." Rakshan added, "We must also prepare our people. Colonies, fleets, civilians, everyone. Fear will destroy us faster than the Zytherians ever could. But knowledge, preparation, and unity, that can turn the tide." Ilara interjected, her voice urgent. "There's more. The data cores contain references to a Zytherian faction, a group that may not agree with total extermination. If we can make contact even partially, we might gain insight or even temporary alliances. We cannot rely solely on force. Kaelin considered her words carefully. Then we do both. We prepare for war, but we seek understanding. Humanity survives when we adapt, when we learn, and when we refuse to be predictable. The Zytherians may be the deadliest species in the galaxy, but they haven't met humans at their best yet. The revelation weighed heavily on the crew. Humanity was no longer facing a simple adversary. The Zytherians represented the pinnacle of evolution shaped by conflict. A species whose every instinct, every decision, every creation was designed for survival and domination. Yet, within that terrifying truth lay hope. Knowledge was power, and understanding could tip the balance. As Kaelin stood on the observation deck that night, staring at the distant, glittering stars, he felt a strange mix of fear and determination. The Zytherians were formidable, relentless, and deadly, but humans had something no species could replicate: courage, ingenuity, and the unyielding will to survive. Ilara joined him, her voice soft but resolute. We've learned more than we thought possible. The Zytherians are dangerous, yes, but they are not unbeatable. Humanity has always faced impossible odds, and we have always risen. Kaelin nodded, feeling the weight of command settle firmly on his shoulders. Then we rise again. For every colony lost, for every life destroyed, humanity will fight. We will strike back, not blindly but with knowledge, strategy, and unbreakable resolve. The Zytherians may have declared war, but they have underestimated us. They have never faced humanity united, and they will see what that truly means. Somewhere across the galaxy, in the cold void of space, the Zytherians pulsed with their alien energy, observing, calculating, preparing. Humanity had begun to understand their enemy, but the war had only just begun. The secrets of the Zytherians were revealed, but knowledge alone would not be enough. Courage, ingenuity, and the human spirit would now be tested like never before. And as the stars shone above, the first seeds of humanity's counterstrike were being sown: the unlikely alliance. Humanity had learned much about the Zytherians, their history, their deadly precision, and their relentless drive for survival. Yet knowledge alone could not end the war. Humanity could strike, adapt, and fight back. But the Zytherians were still a force capable of annihilating entire colonies with terrifying efficiency. If humans were to survive, they would need more than courage and strategy. They would need allies, even in the most unexpected places. Captain Kaelin Vera stared at the holographic display aboard the Etherian, showing the latest Zytherian patrol patterns. Every skirmish, every data point was being analyzed for weaknesses. And now, Ilaramir had discovered something that could change the course of the war. There's a faction within the Zytherians, Ilara explained, her voice a mixture of excitement and caution. They are not aligned with the extermination of humanity. Their communications suggest hesitation, even dissent. We don't know their motives, but if we could make contact, it could be an opportunity. Kaelin raised an eyebrow. A Zytherian willing to ally with humans? Are you certain? Ilara nodded. It's risky, yes. But they exist, and they may provide insight, temporary aid, or even a distraction that could save lives. We have to try. The plan was audacious. A small strike team would infiltrate Zytherian-controlled space, approach the dissenting faction, and attempt communication. Kaelin selected the team personally: Ilara, Lieutenant Torrin Sable, and a handful of the fleet's most skilled operators. It was dangerous, nearly suicidal, but necessity often required courage beyond reckoning. As the team prepared for departure, General Rakshan Kale addressed them. Remember this: survival does not come from brute force alone. You are humanity's ambassadors, even in the most hostile space. Every word, every gesture, every decision counts. Do not fail. The journey to the Zytherian faction's coordinates was tense. The Etherian's shuttle weaved through asteroid fields and cloaked behind nebulae to avoid detection. Every flicker on the sensors, every energy pulse, was a potential threat. The team's nerves were taut, but their resolve was stronger. Humanity had fought back, learned, and survived, and now they were taking the ultimate risk: diplomacy with the galaxy's deadliest species. When they arrived, the scene was both terrifying and mesmerizing. The Zytherian faction ships were smaller, less rigidly organized than the main fleet, yet they radiated intelligence and strength. Bioluminescent pulses flickered across their hulls, and a deep, resonating hum vibrated through space, a communication signal unlike anything humans had encountered before. Ilara took the lead. Using a combination of Zytherian signal patterns and human computational algorithms, she projected a series of pulses meant to convey peace. The shuttle hovered silently, every crew member holding their breath. Moments passed. Then, a single Zytherian vessel detached from the formation and approached slowly, deliberately. Its energy pulses were softer, slower, almost curious. "They're observing us," Elara whispered. "They haven't attacked. That's significant." A holographic projection flickered to life inside the shuttle. Unlike humans, it did not take a humanoid form. Instead, it was an abstract shape, shifting and morphing, composed of light and energy patterns that pulsed rhythmically. And yet, somehow, it conveyed intelligence, emotion, and awareness. Kalen squared his shoulders. "We come in peace," he said aloud, though he knew the Zytherian could not hear in human words. Elara activated the pulse interface, translating his intention into energy patterns. The response came slowly then deliberately. The projection shifted, patterns oscillating as though weighing every possibility. Then a message formed, not in words but in intent: curiosity, interest, tentative acknowledgement. Elara's voice trembled with excitement. They're willing to communicate. They're not hostile, at least not to us." Over the next tense hours, humans and Zytherians exchanged complex signals, conveying information about the war, strategies, and survival. The dissenting faction, as Elara had theorized, opposed the extermination of humanity, not out of friendship but principle. They viewed the war as unnecessary, an overextension of their species' violent code. Kalen realized the importance immediately. "We can learn from them," he said. "Their tactics, their weaknesses, their strategies. This alliance, however fragile, gives humanity a chance to survive and strike more effectively." Yet the humans were careful. Trust could not be given blindly. Every signal was analyzed, every interaction measured. The Zytherians respected strength and intelligence, and the human team demonstrated both. Slowly, a fragile understanding formed. The dissenting Zytherians offered information about patrol routes, supply lines, and fleet formations, knowledge that could save countless human lives. Back aboard the Etherian, Kalen convened the fleet's command. "We have an opportunity," he announced. "A faction within the Zytherians is willing to provide insight. We do not trust them blindly, but we use this knowledge. Humanity survives because we are adaptable, clever, and willing to take calculated risks." General Rakshan Kale nodded. "Information is a weapon. With it, we can strike where they least expect it. With it, we can save lives and protect colonies. Humanity is not just fighting for survival, we are learning to fight smarter." Over the following weeks, this unlikely alliance reshaped the human approach to the war. Strike missions became more precise, losses were reduced, and humans began to anticipate Zytherian maneuvers. Each successful mission boosted morale, reinforcing the idea that humanity's ingenuity and courage could prevail, even against a species perfected by war. Kalen and Elara often reflected on the paradox. The Zytherians, creatures of unimaginable power, respected intellect and bravery above all. Humanity, underestimated and hunted, was beginning to earn recognition not through sheer force, but through resilience, strategy, and ingenuity. "It's strange," Kalen said one evening on the observation deck, watching the stars shimmer against the darkness of space. "We were their prey, their target. Yet now, in a way, we are partners in this struggle. Temporary, yes, but it shows something important. Humanity can stand among the stars, even against the deadliest species in the galaxy." Elara smiled faintly. "It's a lesson we've always known, Kalen. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability, those are the qualities that define humanity. The Zytherians may be dangerous, but they've underestimated us. And we've learned how to survive." The first tentative alliance had been forged, not out of friendship but out of necessity, understanding, and mutual benefit. Humanity had survived the first encounters, struck back with precision, and now had a glimpse into the mind of its deadliest enemy. The war was far from over. Battles would rage, lives would be lost, and the Zytherians' full power had yet to be unleashed. But humanity had taken its first step from hunted to strategist, from prey to participant in a deadly cosmic game. And in the vast, indifferent galaxy, that step would prove to be the difference between extinction and survival. As the Etherians sailed through the void, carrying humans and knowledge alike, Kalen felt a renewed determination. The Zytherians had declared war, and the galaxy's deadliest species had underestimated humanity. The unlikely alliance was fragile, yes, but it was proof that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could turn the tide. And for the first time humanity realized that survival might not just be about fighting back. It might be about understanding, learning, and daring to step where no human had ever dared before. The stars above shimmered, cold and indifferent, but now they also bore witness to humanity's resolve. The war was far from over, but humanity had begun to shape its destiny among the stars, the galactic war. The galaxy had changed. Humanity, once scattered explorers of distant stars, now stood at the forefront of a war unlike any in recorded history. The Zytherians, the deadliest species humanity had ever encountered, were relentless in their campaign, but humans had learned, adapted, and through courage and ingenuity had begun to fight back. Captain Kalen Vera stood on the bridge of the Etherian, staring at the holographic display that showed the latest Zytherian movements. Entire sectors were in turmoil. Human colonies were mobilized, fleets deployed, and defenses fortified. But the enemy was vast, powerful, and unyielding. The war had escalated beyond isolated skirmishes. It was now a galaxy-wide conflict, a test of every human skill, every technological advancement, and every ounce of courage. "Sir," Lieutenant Torrin Sable said, eyes fixed on the display, "Zytherian fleets are converging on the Orion expanse. They've learned from our tactics, they're adapting. This is no longer reconnaissance. They are moving to crush us." Kalen's jaw tightened. "Then we fight, not blindly but strategically. Deploy the fleets, use the intelligence from the dissenting Zytherians. Every weak point, every gap, every flaw we've discovered, we exploit it. Humanity survives because we adapt faster than any predator expects." Admiral Lyra Soren, coordinating Earth's defensive fleets, nodded grimly. "We cannot match them ship for ship, Kalen. But we can outthink them. Use the nebulae, the gravity wells, and the asteroid fields. We'll turn the galaxy itself into our ally. Humanity has survived impossible odds before, we will survive this." The first major engagement of the war unfolded near the Vortex Cluster, a dense region of gas and debris that offered both danger and opportunity. Zytherian warships advanced in deadly formations, their bioluminescent hulls glowing with alien energy. Humans, smaller in number but cunning, used the cluster's chaotic environment to mask movements and stage ambushes. Human drones emitted disruptive pulses, breaking the Zytherians' communication synchronization. Torpedoes streaked through the nebula, striking critical systems. The Zytherians adapted quickly, but each disruption created opportunities for human strike teams to inflict damage, saving colonies and buying precious time. Amid the chaos, Kalen led a daring raid on a Zytherian command vessel. The mission was perilous. Failure meant annihilation, but success could cripple the enemy's coordination. The Etherian darted through the battlefield, weaving between energy blasts and debris. Human ingenuity shone as crews improvised tactics on the fly, exploiting every weakness. "Ilara, the main pulse emitter," Kalen shouted. "Disrupt it now?" Ilara's fingers flew over the console, sending counterpulses to scramble the Zytherians' communications. The effect was immediate. The command vessel faltered, its formations unraveling. Human fighters seized the moment, striking decisively. The battle ended with heavy losses on both sides, but it was a turning point. Humanity had shown that it could not only survive but fight intelligently against the deadliest species in the galaxy. Morale soared, colonies were fortified, and humans began to understand that courage, intellect, and adaptability were as powerful as any weapon. Yet the Zytherians were relentless. Across the galaxy, other fleets launched attacks, devastating planets and space stations. Humans had learned to anticipate, but the cost was high. Lives were lost, cities destroyed, and entire sectors left in ruin. But even in the face of such devastation, humanity did not falter. General Rakshan Kale addressed the fleet from a secure channel. "We fight not just for survival, but to prove that humanity will not bow to fear. Every ship lost, every life sacrificed strengthens our resolve. We adapt. We learn. We endure. And in the end we will prevail." Human scientists, led by Ilara, continued to analyze Zytherian data, discovering new strategies and weaknesses. They began to develop specialized technologies, adaptive shields, pulse disruptors, and weapons designed to exploit Zytherian biology. Humanity's ingenuity turned the tide of skirmishes, striking fear into a species that had never known hesitation in combat. Kalen watched the galaxy unfold from the observation deck of the Etherian. The stars, once distant and serene, now blazed with the fires of war. Entire fleets moved like chess pieces across the cosmic board, each side anticipating the other's strategy. Humanity was no longer the hunted. It was now a predator in its own right, clever, bold, and relentless. Ilara joined him, her voice calm but filled with intensity. Kalen, we're learning faster than they are. Every engagement teaches us something new. Humanity isn't just surviving, we're adapting in ways they can't predict. That's why we endure. Kalen nodded. We're proving what humans have always known. We're not just survivors. We are innovators, strategists, and fighters. The Zytherians may be powerful, but they've never faced humans united, fighting with intelligence and courage. That's our advantage. The galactic war raged on for months. Battles erupted in distant nebulae, asteroid fields, and around vital colonies. The Zytherians unleashed their deadliest technologies, but humans countered with adaptability and ingenuity. Each confrontation brought new knowledge, new tactics, and a deeper understanding of the enemy. Amid the devastation, a pattern emerged. The Zytherians respected strength, intelligence, and courage above all. Humans, once underestimated, were earning recognition, even from their deadliest adversaries. The unlikely alliance with the dissenting Zytherians provided critical insights, allowing human fleets to strike decisively, disrupt supply lines, and protect colonies that would otherwise have been lost. As Kalen observed the latest battle, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over him. Humanity was not invincible, nor would the war be easy, but they had proven something vital. Even against a species perfected by millennia of war, courage, intellect, and adaptability could turn the tide. And somewhere beyond the battlefield, the Zytherians pulsed with recognition. They had underestimated humanity, and now, for the first time, they were forced to measure humans not as prey, but as worthy adversaries. The galactic war had begun, and humanity was not merely surviving, it was shaping its destiny among the stars. Every victory, every lesson learned, every act of courage reinforced the truth that would echo across the galaxy. Humans may be young, unpredictable, and fragile, but they were unyielding, brilliant, and utterly relentless. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven it could endure, adapt, and fight back. The Zytherians had declared war on the galaxy's most populous species. And humanity had struck back with intelligence, courage, and an unwavering belief in its own potential. As Kalen stood on the observation deck, staring into the void, he whispered to himself, "We are not just surviving. We are humanity. And we will endure." The stars, silent witnesses to the cosmic struggle, seemed to shimmer in acknowledgement. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as prey, but as a force to be reckoned with. A species that refused to bow, refused to break, and refused to surrender, even in the face of the deadliest adversary the galaxy had ever known. Humanity's triumph. The galaxy trembled with the echoes of war. For months, humanity had fought a relentless campaign against the Zytherians, the deadliest species in the galaxy. Countless colonies had been destroyed, fleets decimated, and lives lost, but humans had endured. Every setback had been met with ingenuity, every defeat had been transformed into strategy. And now, on the eve of what could be the final confrontation, humanity prepared for a decisive stand. Captain Kalen Vera stood on the bridge of the Etherian, the stars outside glowing with the light of distant suns. Below him, the human fleet assembled in formation near the Orion Rift, a region of space both strategically vital and perilously unstable. Zytherian forces were approaching, massive, disciplined, and deadly, but humans had learned, adapted, and evolved faster than anyone had anticipated. Admiral Lyra Soren addressed the fleet through the interstellar channel. Her voice was calm, authoritative, and inspiring. "Today we do not fight merely for survival. We fight to prove that humanity is unyielding, intelligent, and brave. The Zytherians have underestimated us at every turn, and today we show them why humans are not just another species to eliminate. We are a force that cannot be ignored. Humanity endures, and humanity triumphs." The first clash was immediate and devastating. Zytherian ships, glowing with lethal energy, advanced in perfect formations, their pulse weapons tearing through space with precision. Human ships, though outnumbered, leveraged every advantage: nebula cover, asteroid fields, and the intelligence gathered from the dissenting Zytherian faction. Disruptive drones scrambled enemy communications, causing minor chaos in the enemy ranks. Captain Kalen led the charge personally. The Etherian darted through the battlefield like a predator, targeting Zytherian command vessels. Every maneuver was calculated, every strike precise. Lieutenant Torrin Sable coordinated fleet movements, exploiting gaps in the enemy lines. Human pilots executed daring attacks that the Zytherians could not anticipate, their predictable patterns thrown into disarray by human ingenuity. In the chaos, Dr. Ilara Mir monitored the Zytherian energy signals, searching for critical vulnerabilities. "Kalen," she shouted. "Their central command nodes, the ones controlling formation coherence, are exposed. If we strike there, we can collapse their fleet coordination." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the strike teams. All units focus fire. Humanity's survival depends on this moment." The assault was unprecedented. Human ships, synchronized with the pulse disruptions, targeted the Zytherian nodes with precision torpedoes and energy beams. Explosions rippled through the enemy fleet, breaking formations and causing confusion. The Zytherians, creatures of unmatched power and intelligence, faltered for the first time. Their strikes became erratic. Their vessels collided and drifted helplessly. General Rakshan Kale coordinated the ground-based defenses, ensuring that colonies were shielded and supply lines maintained. Every human system, every pilot, every scientist contributed to the triumph. Humanity's collective ingenuity, courage, and relentless spirit had turned the tide. Amid the chaos, Kalen spotted a massive Zytherian warship, the heart of their fleet, its hull pulsating with alien energy. "This is it," he muttered. "We end this now." Leading a specialized strike team, Kalen and his crew engaged the warship. It was a harrowing battle. Energy pulses slammed against their shields, hull integrity dropped dangerously low, and the ship trembled under the impact. Yet, every move was precise, every action coordinated. Humans fought not just with weapons but with strategy, intellect, and unyielding will. "Ilara now," Kalen commanded. Ilara activated a concentrated pulse disruptor, targeting the warship's central command system. Lights flickered across the Zytherian vessel. Systems failed and its formations collapsed entirely. With the enemy in disarray, human forces delivered the final blow. The massive warship erupted in a brilliant flash, signaling the collapse of Zytherian coordination across the battlefield. Silence fell over the Orion Rift. For the first time in the war, the humans held the field unchallenged. Ships that had survived the conflict regrouped, battered but unbroken. Humanity had triumphed, not by sheer firepower alone, but through strategy, courage, and the relentless application of intelligence. Kalen, Lyra, and Ilara watched the aftermath from the observation deck of the Etherian. The galaxy, though scarred, had not claimed humanity. "They've retreated," Ilara said quietly. "They know they've been bested for now." Kalen exhaled deeply. "This is more than survival. This is proof. Proof that humans, despite being young, unpredictable, and underestimated, can stand against even the deadliest forces the galaxy has ever seen. Humanity fights not just with ships, but with minds, courage, and hearts that refuse to yield." Lyra added, her voice firm, "They may return, Kalen. The Zytherians are patient, relentless, and deadly. But now they know one thing: humans are not to be underestimated. And neither will we be." Across the galaxy, colonies began to rebuild, fleets regrouped, and the human race emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Humanity had faced extinction, faced an enemy perfected by war, and survived. The Zytherians had declared humanity weak, but humans had demonstrated their greatest strength: resilience, intelligence, and unyielding courage. Kalen reflected on the long journey from the first warning in the Orion Rift to this moment of victory. Every challenge had been met, every loss had taught a lesson, and every victory had reinforced the truth that defined humanity. The stars, once a canvas of exploration and wonder, were now a testament to human endurance. Ilara stood beside him, her gaze steady. "We've done it, Kalen. Humanity has survived. And we've learned something crucial: we are not just a species of explorers, we are a species of warriors, thinkers, and survivors. The galaxy will remember us." Kalen nodded, a rare smile touching his lips. "Yes, humanity endures. Humanity thrives. And no matter how many challenges the universe throws at us, we will rise, adapt, and triumph. That is who we are." Somewhere beyond the battlefield, the Zytherians pulsed with acknowledgement. The deadliest species in the galaxy had recognized a new truth: humans were formidable, clever, and unyielding. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength, but through resilience, intellect, and courage. The war was not over, the galaxy was vast, and the Zytherians were patient. But humanity had proven itself. The species that had once been hunted now commanded respect across the stars. The legend of their triumph would echo through space for generations, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. And as the Etherians sailed through the remnants of the battlefield, Its crew battered but triumphant, Captain Kalen Vera gazed at the distant stars and whispered a vow. Humanity will endure. Humanity will thrive. And humanity will never bow to the darkness. In the cold, infinite void of the galaxy, humanity had claimed its place, not as prey, but as a species unbroken, unyielding, and triumphant. The deadliest war the galaxy had ever seen had tested them, and humanity had emerged victorious,